No.
It's working?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go live now.
Okay.
If everybody's ready.
Yes.
Ready?
Cool. Hi.
Should we wait a little bit for folks to,
There's there's 8 people watching right now.
hello to all 8 of you.
Live now. Okay. If everybody's ready. Yes.
Cool.
Ready? Cool. Hi.
So ready. Hello,
Hi.
everyone. Well, thanks everyone for.
Should we wait a little bit for folks to.
Oh, there we go. LOL. Hi. Okay, so I'm going to keep YouTube closed because otherwise I'll just keep hearing myself on a loop. And we love that. And we love that we're here to talk about how technology works in the future. So perfectly fitting. So thank you to everyone for tuning in to our conversation today with Pinkstar and Jordan and Myth from Hotel Free TV. We are super excited today to talk about Pinkstar's upcoming project, Girls Like Us, which is super exciting residency that she's doing with Hotel Free TV. Talk about both of these amazing groups' process and projects and collaboration. And obviously, appreciate your support checking this out. I am Mac Irvine. I'm going to be the moderator today. Please feel free to drop any questions that you may have in YouTube screen thing, wherever it is. And thank you to our sponsors, the Immediate School of Fashion and the Cultural Arts Division of the City of Austin's Economic Development Department. Always great economic funders of artists. So a little bit about me, and then I'll introduce our panelists, whatever, the people who are making the amazing art that we'll be talking about. I'm a writer, researcher, curator, collaborator, doing stuff in art and nightlife and performance in Austin. I'm also a PhD candidate in the Performance Studies program at Tufts University. Loved technology, letting me do that from Austin, so that I can keep hanging out with everyone. So Pinky, I'll introduce you first. Pinky, if you don't know, and you should by now, but at least you're here, creates a world far removed from this dimension's binaries through her music and conceptual shows. Since 2016, Pinkstar has been rapidly becoming the iconic figure that we all know and love in the Texas art and nightlife scenes by creating inclusive spaces centering the work of queer and trans artists of color in this rapidly gentrifying white, straight city. She's been recognized for this work by the Austin Chronicle, winning 2 Best of Austin awards for her space-making work. And she has represented the future of nightlife in the city on the cover of the Austin Chronicle, but also in all of our hearts. Her work has been at the Blanton, South by Southwest, Roots and Culture at the Contemporary Art Center, or part of the Roots and Culture show at the Contemporary Art Center in Chicago. And she's been on stage with Charlie XCX, Crystal Waters, the ladies of the LCD Sound System, many others. Pinky, do you have anything else to add to that very extensive and beautiful bio?
Hi,
Oh, and her
everyone.
album came out in March.
Yeah, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Not really. My name is Pinkstar, and I'm your favorite electronic pop superstar. And I hope you're having fun today. I'm so happy to be sharing virtual stage with all of you.
Fab. And then we have Myth and Jordan of Hotel Free TV. Myth is an Australian expat with a background in sculpture, performance, video, and new media. Her personal work explores digital intimacy and often involves overly complicated multimedia installations in attempts to transcend the spatial and temporal distance that has ruled her life since emigrating to the US. Myth landed in the DIY scene somewhat by accident after losing her job as a bartender at Hotel Vegas due to COVID, and realizing that this skill set all over the place, extensive collection of cables, and knowing how to use them, because I don't, and appreciation for antiquated, glitch-ridden AV gear was perfectly suited to the online DIY music venue that Hotel Free TV offers. Myth's work has been exhibited in NYC, LA, Austin, Detroit, Toronto, Sydney, and Hobart at venues including Moha, Collab, the VAC, the Hobart Biennial, Mona, the New Museum, and Perform at NYC. And then Jordan grew up in the DIY punk scene in Richmond, Virginia, and having lived all over the country since then, the only real constant in their life has been the underground music scene, where he, like many others, has found family. He's been an active participant since the 90s, working at venues, booking shows, making zines, t-shirts, merch, all of the like behind the scenes, like gritty stuff that we all know and love as DIY, as members of DIY music scenes, and also playing in electronic and minimal synth bands and solo projects, including Order, Filthy Idiot, and Black Marble. His work has been included in the MoMA PS1 Art Book Fair, the Philadelphia Art Book Fair, and the 8 Ball Zine Fest. Support and signal boosting has changed over the years with the idea of an appreciation fanzine for the scene that was curbed by COVID-19 was the impetus behind Hotel Free TV. And we will get more into the background of Hotel Free TV as we talk. But do either of you have anything else to add about what you're working on now, and we'll get into Hotel Free TV, but anything else you wanted to add?
No, that sounds good.
Yeah.
All we do is work on Hotel Free TV. So.
Yeah, the lifestyle of all-encompassing art projects. Cool. Well, just a little background on Hotel Free TV for those of you who might be tuning into Hotel Free TV content for the first time. Hotel Free TV is a DIY life support machine for the local music scene here in Austin. Created to plug the hole in our hearts where live music used to be, and the hole in our schedules and wallets where that project created, life-giving events, but also money. So it's a safe space for free expression where creatives in the community can share, discover, and collaborate. The virtual residency program that Pinky is part of for January has given artists a platform to showcase new music that would otherwise be confined to practice spaces, and is a venue to promote and support each other by selecting different acts each week and reach global audiences through the internet, despite tours and otherwise live performance being canceled indefinitely. So they have had a ton of amazing free shows that are still available on the YouTube page that everyone should check out. And that is the project that Pinky is going to be talking about later on. Do you have anything else y'all wanted to add about the scope of Hotel Free TV before we dive in?
I don't know. I think we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Well, do y'all want to tell us a little bit more about where Hotel Free TV came from? Like, what sort of things were happening at the beginning of COVID that led to your launching it? Or I know that you all sort of like officially sort of started presenting content late summer, early fall. So sort of, yeah, what were those like ideas that coalesced into this project?
Well, initially we, like you said, we worked at venues, and I think the project in its inception was just like out of boredom and like not knowing what to do really at the beginning of this. So like trying to stay busy, and we had like 2 weeks of neither of us were working, and we were like scrambling to try to figure out
Right in the beginning.
how to pivot.
Yeah.
And we started making videos to try to like start like yard tenders. Like instead of bartending, we could like tend your like cut your grass or something. and we were like trying to figure out how to like survive before unemployment, and we
And
just
stay sane.
yeah.
Like all of these harebrained job schemes that we like just made promotions for and then didn't do.
And so we started making videos for that as a way of just thinking out loud. And we got linked up with Sabrina from Sweet Spirit and A Giant Dog,
Yeah.
and
They had like a lot to do with it actually starting. Like we were thinking about it for a long time, but we didn't have anyone to like push us to actually go, and they came in and they had like ideas for a schedule and like hosts and support acts and stuff, and
very
so,
regimented.
yeah, and they were like so motivated. I think that the band, like, they had still been practicing, so they were super tight and just ready to like get some energy out in that way. Yeah.
So we signed on, we said yes, and it was definitely above our heads what we were doing, but we just kind of wanted to make them happy, and then as a result, like during the process of
We
making
were
the
made
first
happy.
one, we were so happy to have something to work on, and so excited to see live music again, and we just went for it after that and like fully committed
Yeah.
to
Doing-
trying to see it.
to keep it going and like doing something positive. I was still working at Hotel Vegas the whole time as well, and it just felt kind of like we were doing to-go drinks and stuff, but there was nothing about music at all.
Yeah.
And it just felt like it was losing its identity kind of, and I really care about Hotel Vegas. Like, I don't know.
But
Yeah, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about like what were you trying to initially like recapture in launching, because you mentioned like your commitment to like the identity of the space and like the sort of that like, you know,
Yeah.
seem to be there. So like, or like just even being around live music. So like what were you initially like expecting, and how has that shifted or like pulled it in on itself?
Yeah, I think that like with the live videos that we do, we're trying to really like it's like we're trying to capture the energy of actually being at a live show, so it doesn't look like most other live streams out there, and it doesn't look exactly like what your view would be like if you were at a live show, but it's like the like weight of it and all of the little like in between things and I don't know, giving the musicians a feeling as well. Like we really try to make everyone look like fucking rock stars no matter what, and But I definitely think that like Hotel Vegas had a particular vibe in its branding that like isn't actually so much our style. Like it, we're a lot more, you know, like public access TV and more, I guess, like DIY punk aesthetic than Vegas, which was more like 70s kind of Austin vibe. I think that is like a really strong thing in Austin, but yeah.
Rad. So actually, do you want to just, for those who are first time Hotel Free TV interaction people, like, do you want to just give like a brief overview of sort of like what your projects have been to date, like what, because I know you have like zine, like the zine stuff, you have the merch stuff, and then you have the actual performances. So do you want to just like give a brief overview of what those have been so far?
Yeah.
You do a lot more than I do.
We like tried to make our own little ecosystem. Like I feel like any music scene is, and like fill it in every way. Like we have a monthly T-shirt that we put out. That's kind of like a tourist shirt for all the bands, and we donate that money towards the band. We make zines each month, and like buttons and VHS, and we have live performances that we record with like a host, and we make little commercials for local businesses that want to participate, and just like trying to carve out a little world that is like what we all grew up in, just like our scene, and promoting everybody that's kind of like trapped at home and has been performing like, you know, in their bedroom for the past 8 months, and trying to make it, you know, elevate them, put them on a stage, and make it look as pro as we can, and to make them look as good as we possibly can. And in the meantime, like, just go full speed on output for like buttons, shirts, zines, like everything that we can possibly think of to like
Get
support
stuff
and,
out there.
yeah, promote
Yeah.
everybody that we work with. We've worked with like, this last episode was our 10th episode. We have 2 specials, so we have like, it's a constant thing, and we're always trying to look forward and find the new act to promote.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
the telethon was kind of like it felt like a culmination, because like almost one person or so from every band that we've had came on, and that was really sweet.
Yeah, I feel like we're building a real family.
Amazing, and we all certainly need and appreciate that right now.
Oh.
How have you sort of like approached collaboration thus far? Like, how did you like decide who to bring in? Like, how did that process work? Was that more organic? Were you like tapping into yeah, how did that work?
I think it has been pretty organic. It's been like again I feel like Sabrina really set the tone for it, where we really try to like honor the energy of each band in terms of editing and stuff, but also the people that we work with kind of push us to grow in different ways. Like, I don't know, like Sabrina even pushing us to like actually start this thing that we'd been thinking about for months. And then like p1nkstar is like, we've learned a lot about fundraising for like our collaboration with p1nkstar, which is really cool because that's
Yeah.
another thing that it's like, yeah, we're totally gonna start applying to grants, and then like
It just sits on the list,
yeah,
and then the list keeps getting bigger. So like, yeah, working with Pink Star, I feel like every collaboration forces us to like
yeah, but also
magnify some aspect of it.
yeah. Also in the beginning though, like we love all of the bands that we've gotten on there.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people that like we asked that weren't in a place where they could do it at that time for like whatever reason. So like the bands that we've had on so far mostly have been all the bands that have said yes to us.
Yeah. And as you build momentum, obviously you land pop icons like Pink Star.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit more about Girls Like Us and how you maybe just give like a brief overview of what you have planned, and then we can talk about the process?
Are you asking me or
I
everyone?
am. So.
Yeah, so Girls Like Us started as a like standard hotel free TV residency, which kind of has been evolving as we bring in more collaborators. Just because people seem to be really inspired by the work that Hotel Free TV has been doing, and just like being able to create something after such a long time. But in essence, where we have landed now is that Girls Like Us is a 15-minute long film emulating an extended music video, and it features it's starring for trans women and trans femme artists and just trans queer artists all around. We have I think most of the talent is queer, and that's really special and really nice in this time. The thing that I have been missing the most is truly my community, and it's hard to be inspired whenever I don't get to see everyone that I really appreciate and I love. So it's nice that we're able to put something together. And I think it's been really great that Hotel Free TV has been super receptive to the ideas that we have come up with. Yeah, and I'm just really excited to make it all happen. We still have a lot of work to do. But yeah.
Cute. And I mean, also just from talking to you about it, that it's like people will not be disappointed. It's a huge production, multiple sets, built out sets, lots of amazing cameos from queer folks around the country. So it should be.
We're really excited. Yeah, Y2K, who's one of my main collaborators, as most people who know me know, has been really pushing the creative direction of this entire project, and is collaborating with different artists and to build out sets that are specific to each one of the starring artists. Also, we have Quentin Arispe, Belladonna, Lorelai Kay, who's from Denton and now Dallas, and myself being starring. And then we have several features that include Reina Rizam from LCD Sound System and Ariel Satina, who's a really angelic DJ from Chicago, that just does amazing work as an organizer and also is just super talented as a DJ. And same with Reina. And then we have more local artists being featured. So, yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about how y'all linked up and sort of what that collaboration has been like? You touched a little bit on it from this Hotel Free TV side, but Pinky, do you want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about the development of this?
Yeah. I think, so Sabrina had reached out to me a long time ago, even before Hotel Free TV started putting out content about like working with them to do something, and like somehow that didn't work out at that time. And then Hotel Free TV reached out to me and they were like, hey, we would love to work with you in like any capacity. Like these are like the different things that we usually do. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, I'd love to do this. I love this project. Let's work together. Let's make something happen. And so we decided that I was going to do a 1 month residency with them, which has now evolved into creating this high production value film, which is great. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really grateful that they pushed me to feel inspired to come up with to like be able to work on something like this.
No, we're so lucky to have you. Give me a break.
Pinky, do you want to talk a little bit more about how this sort of fits within your larger work? I know we've talked a lot about like collaboration and space making and organizing and you know, representation, but also getting people paid. And yeah, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about like sort of what you've been thinking about during quarantine and like why this felt like the right fit for your like first sort of big thing. And like Texas Pride, I think was like your last big project, right?
Yeah, Texas Pride of mine was the last big project.
Which was an amazing event that raised a ton of money for Black and brown trans people all over the state of Texas and featured artists from all over Texas. So I think we see a little bit of a through line. So anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the work that I have been doing in the city of Austin for the last 3 to 4 years, beyond like creating music and like performance. I'm like a music and performance artist, and I'm also like an art and nightlife promoter. And much of the work that I do is centered to amplify the work of trans artists, and then also to merge creative communities that I see like throughout the city that don't necessarily have a connection yet, but that are doing amazing work. And to me, something like a live stream or a show or like this film seem really exciting opportunities to bring in different communities of queer and trans talent together and work on something really beautiful all together and make just amazing art together. And beyond that, I mean, yeah, I think what I've learned, like speaking to getting everyone paid beyond just amplifying their work, I think over the last like 4 years, I've learned kind of how important it is to support artists financially, but also how, as a promoter, I should make it my responsibility to find the funds to pay people. And it's complicated and it's hard and it's a lot of like, I don't know where we're getting this money from. And it's also a lot of like, sometimes we didn't make any money and I end up paying people, which is fine. It's like, I'm happy to do that. But I think to me, that's just really like important to like make sure that everyone gets a little bit of financial support beyond just putting them on.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't know if I answered all the questions.
I mean, I think that is like something in performance that people don't know about, and like promotion that people don't know about, that like often, or just don't consider. Like we go out and we live in a city like Austin where performance is part of the like branding of the city, but then people don't realize that like you're going to a free show, you might not know the artist, but like, you know, there's an economics behind it. If you want to be supporting local talent, you have to be willing to pay a cover. You have to be willing to pay for a donation or whatever. So, or you have to be willing to get creative about funding sources, like both of y'all are doing. I mean, I know like I've heard stories about like where money has come from for some of the parties that you've thrown, and like the places that you can get this type of money. It's like, it's first of all, you wouldn't think it, and then second of all, you wouldn't know it unless someone told you. So the connecting aspect of the work that you both are doing, I think, is super important.
And I think a lot of the times people, I mean, it's what you're talking about. People don't realize that many times when you're going to a free show, maybe you're like watching a band that has worked their ass off for weeks to put on that show together, and they're not getting paid, which kind of sucks. And then, it's just, I think it's complicated. Just, I feel like now, like, I'm sidetracking hard, but I feel like it takes a while to be able to figure out where to get the money from. I think it's really kind of a connections game, maybe, or just kind of research, like sitting down for like hours and hours and hours and like looking at grants and then like bookmarking everything and making sure that you're like on track or like check them.
Yeah.
But it's complicated.
Yeah, we're definitely like figuring it out. I think like for us, one of the things that we struggled with in the beginning was whether or not to charge people for seeing it, and we felt like there was like, that was kind of unfair to be doing at this time because we didn't want to be blocking anyone from seeing it. So we had like a donation thing, and people would donate if they could. That was like suggested donation $5. But yeah, we definitely are stoked to have been pushed to start being more creative with that, because it's like, you know, there are big companies in Austin that have a lot of money, and like it definitely does feel like the culture here is shifting. Like the more money that comes into the city, it's like the less creativity there is. So yeah, like give us money, Tito's.
And I think something that you just touched on is kind of it's like complicated, like when you're budgeting out an event or like a project, being like, how much am I going to charge for this? Because I mean, at least for me, many of my projects are made for trans and queer people, and trans and queer, like BIPOC trans and queer people. And I don't want to make them, like, I don't want to make them pay for this experience because it's created for them. And so it's also complicated. Also, we also live in a city like Austin where it's complicated to pay, or people want to go to free shows all the time, and venues allow free shows all the time. So it's complicated, or it's hard to shift that mindset of like, hey, you're paying $10, but that's most likely going directly to the artists. Or, you know, people don't see the through line of that.
For sure.
A question from the chat is, do you think that this kind of support, like the type of projects that you're working on, or even just like talking about this? Like, do you think that that creates a more sustainable scene?
I think it can.
Yeah,
I think that we're like at a point of where we can, like, everybody that's involved right now can kind of dictate what the future looks like, because it's just been leveled. Everything's been bulldozed. Like, we'll be lucky to get a lot of the clubs that we had open again, and then it's kind of up to the artists that are still participating. And I feel like hopefully everybody will be super appreciative of the artists that are performing, and being able to go to a live show again is going to be such a like wild experience.
yeah, I definitely think that like when things are happening in real life again, like covers are, it's less of a big deal to be charging people to be going to a show. And I mean, I know it at Vegas, like if someone were to come up to the door and be like, I really want to see this show, I can't afford to pay like whatever the cover is, like they would have let those people in, and so there's still like kind of a sliding scale with it. But I definitely think that diversifying the income sources, I liked what you said, Pink Star, about that, like as promoters there's a responsibility to be getting artists paid, and like especially there's like certain like groups of people that are more at risk, or like that have had like a harder time during the pandemic and stuff, and like those are the people that should be prioritized with getting paid.
For sure.
I wonder if you could both maybe talk about a little bit sort of the local scenes that you were part of before the pandemic, and that you're part of, or that maybe we'll start there. So like, what like were your local scenes looking like before being with more than your household became problematic? For the care of our community, for good reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I guess I moved around a lot and kind of moved over the country, and I lived in New York for about 13 or 14 years, and was always in bands, and participated there, and I kind of moved all around, and have always been a part of whatever local music scene, be it like working at a venue or playing at shows. So I've always tried to take a pretty active role in all the scenes, and I've been in Austin for a couple years now, and we worked at Barracuda, and live music is just a part of our life, and saw countless shows. So but was kind of dormant in creating anything. Haven't been playing music recently, but just more working at shows, doing flyers or art for flyers, just kind of like working in the ecosystem around live music. And when COVID happened, and this project came into the forefront, it kind of was a perfect storm of a lot of things were missing, and I feel like both of our like DIY resumes kind of led to free TV. But I feel like there's so much missing, like other than just live music from COVID, like people that made show flyers, or people that like book shows, like the whole ecosystem was thrown out of balance. So it's been hard for everybody.
Yeah, I don't know. I was more in the like fine art scene, I feel like, and that was what I thought my future was going to be. More like going to grad school and being in galleries and museums and like that world. And then COVID kind of messed up I was studying at UT, and COVID messed that up, and I couldn't afford tuition anymore, and I still finished my degree, but I did it at a different university. But then this started, and I don't know, it's so like there's this positivity in the music scene. I feel that like is so much less cynical, and like I don't know, I was extremely cynical before, and it feels really nice to like not be inviting like negativity into my head every day. Like this just feels like we just want to do it for other people more than for ourselves.
Kinky,
Yeah.
you were dying fast. Do you want to talk a little bit more about, because obviously you also emerged from a fine art practice and your work is very community oriented now. Do you want to talk a little bit about your stuff?
Yeah, I think like the scenes that I was part of before the pandemic, I think they shift a lot. I'm very much, at least in Austin, exists kind of in between scenes a lot, but most definitely nightlife, queer nightlife specifically, but just nightlife in general too. The music scene, and the electronic music scene, and then also the fine arts world of Austin. I think that's kind of like similar to Myth. That's kind of where I came from, or like that's where I started, and just kind of kept seeing different people, different types of artists working in different types of ways at different types of places. And I was like, okay, how do we try to put this all together? And that's kind of what I have been trying to do over the last 4 years. But yeah, it's interesting, kind of like what Myth was talking about like cynicism, or just kind of like heavy theory, or sort of like feeling like everything has to relate to theory or to like art history, or to it's complicated, and it's definitely something that, like, I mean, at least for me, it's something that I still think about like every day as I make work. All the time I'm like, oh, this relates to this thing, and this is like, I can like defend my work in a fine arts world like this, and using these texts, which is creepy, but also, I guess, good. I mean, I don't know. It's nice to have that kind of direction, for sure. But then it's also nice to ignore it, and it's also nice to appreciate. I think, for example, like drag performance has been like heavily theorized, but I don't think the artists that exist within like drag scenes across the country or like internationally like are thinking about theory. And I think for me, studying performance in a more academic way, not necessarily making performance, but talking and thinking about performance conceptually, or like performance studies, really gave me a window. So I was kind of like really trapped in the fine arts world, and seeing these texts theorizing artists that are very much outside of the gallery, outside of fine arts, and putting them at the same regard as fine artists and conceptual artists was a really great thing for me, because then it allowed me to see all of this work that is usually considered low art by high art snobs, and see that work in a different light, and see how important and powerful it is, and like how it can be put in the same pedestal as a conceptual, like, wide cube gallery artist. And many times I feel like work that exists outside of the institution and work that exists just outside the gallery and outside of that realm tends to create a bigger impact in, like, the world
Totally.
outside of the gallery. Because I mean, people in the gallery they all have been converted, it seems like, it's like they all already know. So it's just, I don't know. But they're not taking it to the real world, so it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I feel like I certainly agree with you. And I also think that, like, it's just a lot of, like, circle jerking in those spaces that, like, really just, like, perpetuate it and, like, are interested in continuing to consolidate the power that emerges from it. Whereas I think what is really important about the work that y'all are doing is that it's really about harboring what people want to do and, like, making space for people who aren't interested in that necessarily or wouldn't be granted access to it. I wonder if, just going back to talking about, like, the local scenes and collaboration, how do you think COVID has, like, changed your, I mean, beyond just, like, the fact that there aren't physical spaces for it, like, how has COVID impacted, like, what you see as, like, the local scene? Because, like, you're bringing in people, Pinky, that are all over the country, but that, like, run in similar spheres. And I'm guessing also, like, as you've mentioned over at Hotel Free TV, like, you're working with people who, like, you're working with a breadth of artists that maybe you hadn't worked with before. So I'm wondering, like, how that has shifted that for you, or, like, how it's, like, expanded or whatever has happened with that constraint, maybe. If whoever can go first.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, Zoom and everything is, like, been brought into everybody's living room. We're doing this now, and, like, it's, the local scene is, like, I guess definitely expanded its walls. It feels like it's beyond just musicians. Intuitively I would say it's just, like, the people that play at this venue or play at Vegas, like, that scene, or, like, Cheer Up Charlie's is its own scene or whatever, but it feels super connected when we all lost the same things and we all lost our outlet. And I feel super connected to everybody that plays underground music and, like, works within that field to whatever degree, just because we're all suffering the same loss. So I feel like it's a pretty, like, universal scene as far as, what we're all missing out on.
I feel like, I don't know, something that, like, I would really love for us to be working towards is, being a platform for all of those, maybe, like, scenes that were more isolated and, like, differentiated by venues or something, like, bringing people together. And also, like, I think it's harder to discover new bands or something now, like, before you would go to a show because you liked like one of the bands on it, but it was like a 4-band bill, and then maybe you would find another band that you liked that way. And like, how do you do that now without like being, you know, like Spotify or something can like control that, but that like, fuck that.
Yeah, you definitely have to be a lot more proactive about it. So, I mean, I think that's like an interesting aspect of your sort of like monthly lineups, having diversity of talent, and ditto Pinky with Girls Like Us. Yeah, how has that changed things for you, Pinky?
I think, yeah, it's interesting to think about what the local scene is. Just mostly because they're like now we're all everyone in the world is going to the same venue, which is like the internet. So there, it's like it's interesting because a lot of the work that I do, when I think a lot of the work that Hotel Free TV is kind of like hyper local and centering artists and people, and like having an audience that exists very specifically kind of in Austin. And now anyone can join, and it's I mean, I feel like I don't exactly know kind of like how to navigate the internet as well. Even it's like complicated, like I do and I don't. But it's interesting to see how some artists who have been focusing a lot on being in like important or relevant in their specific city, like how they have shifted gears to kind of be relevant and important on the internet. And it's, to me, it's been kind of very eye-opening to where I'm like, oh, like maybe this is what we should be focusing on. And it's also easier to find talent and artists that are in a similar wavelength. Like if you're casting the entire world, if that makes sense. It's kind of like there's more artists that are doing work similar to me in different parts of the world, but I don't know about them unless I'm like listening to that channel. So it's been interesting for sure, and it's interesting to think about what the local is and like what the local will be in the future.
Yeah, totally. And I think, yeah, I feel like the queer internet certainly has infected my brain and clearly yours to some degree. And maybe now you're part of doing the infecting. I wonder, so obviously a couple of the topics that this talk is focusing on are collaboration and futurism. Pinky, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about some of your favorite collaborations in the past and sort of what you've enjoyed and learned about working in collaboration. And maybe that's informing Girls Like Us, but yeah, do with that what you want.
Yeah, I think collaborations are complicated all the time. I don't know if they get easier with time. I don't know, but it's really nice to find people who want to, like, are on a similar, like, wavelength, I guess, and, like, want to work with you and want to, like, kind of, like, put something together. But speaking to specific collaborations that I have really enjoyed in the past, one of them is with Boss Babes ATX, and we throw a South by Southwest event together. We've been doing it for the last year and a half, I guess, 2 years. This year it got canceled because everything got canceled, but it's been really that's a really nice collaboration because we're kind of bringing these two different groups of people together and amplifying a lot of queer talent. Last year we saw over 3,000 people attend, so it was like really nice and like nerve-wracking at the same time, but it was really fun to be able to put a lot of local talent and a stage that had so many people, kind of so many eyes seeing them. I think just like ongoing collaborations with Y2K and Josh Garcia, kind of working on everything together, visuals and events and video, just kind of the everything music. It's nice to have people that are kind of understand your work and understand the project and understand kind of like the intentions behind whatever you're doing and kind of brainstorming or kind of like take on that identity as well and be able to put something together that's for, yeah, I don't know, my words are not like happening.
For y'all at Hotel Free TV, how much of your work prior to, so obviously like being in bands is collaborative, but other than that, like how much of your other work has been collaborative prior to this project, and sort of like how did that inform the nature of the collaboration that you've been doing on this project?
I've never been in a band before. I feel like that would have been useful, like, people skills to have had probably, but yeah, my experience with collaboration before this was like practically nothing. Like, I was still in school and so like there were like group projects kind of. Before that, like, I was a part of like a DIY art space in New York, and like got together a couple of like showcase shows for that, but it was still very much like people had their like specific roles, and mostly it was just like artists bringing their work, and like bands showing up to play. Like, it wasn't at all like what Hotel Free TV has been like, and I didn't think that I could even work with other people, honestly.
Yeah. It's definitely not my comfort zone either. I guess just my full experience is just bands, and that's like starting a little family until it combusts and you can't take sitting next to somebody in a tour van. But yeah, other than that, I was a part of a group that would rent spaces in New York and throw art shows. And that was collaborative, just in trying to curate artists and participate in that and learning. That was a big learning curve, but yeah, pretty much my only full collaboration is in bands, and that's kind of like a comfort zone. But yeah, you learn a lot of tolerance and putting up with a lot of ego, I guess, with like working with art in a band setting.
Yeah, I definitely like, yeah, the way that this project has like come to be is not at all what it would have been if like either one of us was doing it alone, or even if it was like just us making all of the decisions and like not really caring about anyone else.
Myths and I
so
collaboration.
I love it now. Like,
yeah, it's neither of our comfort zone at all.
Yeah,
we've learned a lot during the process of this, you know, how to fully collaborate, and I feel like we're pretty synced up with our end vision. It's just getting there.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's like a lot of just like letting go of control and just like shutting your ego down for us, I think.
Definitely.
It has been.
Trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what Hotel Free TV does is pretty awesome. Just like in the way that like y'all are collaborating with, I don't know, like at least 20 people every month.
Yeah.
And like to put this show together, and I mean everyone has a little say in it, and it all just like y'all are kind of like guiding the boat, but everyone's helping in it.
For sure. Yeah. We need as much help as we can get.
Yeah.
And I feel like we try to distill every band through our like lens. Like Blank Hellscape wouldn't want to look like Nolan Potter's band, you know? Like
Yeah.
every band we try to see their vision through and gauge what they want and try to like, you know, get as close as we can to how we think they would want to appear. So yeah, it's a constant learning at a very quick speed.
Yeah, and I feel like sort of recognizing that you're all there for like the collective good helps to shed the ego and
sure.
move forward with the collective vision. And it, like also giving everyone some like ownership and autonomy, I think is important. I've found important. I want to just quickly, first of all, if anyone who is watching on YouTube has any questions that they want to share, we can close out with some of those. But I first want to talk quickly about sort of the aesthetics that we can expect to see in Girls Like Us. I think that Pinky, your work has always been very futuristic and very bright and poppy. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about how you are using pop to think about the future. Or like, what is your favorite poppy, pretty stuff right now?
Yeah, so speaking to the aesthetics of Girls Like Us, I think I think my work has shifted. You've seen my work grow, Mag, and like you know that I've always thought about it in terms of like future and potential and imagining what could be. But I think in the last year, my work has shifted to kind of point more directly and like poignantly to a future through aesthetics, which I think Girls Like Us is kind of another iteration of that. It's definitely, it aims to have the production value of like a mainstream pop artist or like the content that's coming from mainstream like pop world, but at the same time platforming and spotlighting trans women artists and queer artists. And so I think that to me is talking about a future or a could be that we haven't seen thus far, or we have seen very little of. And I think in aesthetics, a lot of what we have planned to do talks to technology, talks to light, talks to vocal effects, talks to kind of like light installation, and thinking about like futuristic cities and what pop could be in the next 100 years or the next 1,000 years, and kind of also looking into the past and kind of what visions of the future or ideas of what the future would be people had in the past, and kind of recycling those to present a familiar vision of what the future could be, and kind of, in a way, still instill that thought into people's minds of like, this is what the future is, this is what the future could be, or this is what the future will be. So I think that's, yeah, I don't know. I'm my favorite poppy thing at the moment, for sure. I mean, it's hard. It's just like, I have been watching so many live performances by so many pop artists that it's just kind of like, that is everything that I'm living and breathing right now. So it's just, that's what I really like at the moment. And also, forever, I love music videos. So it's just kind of like that combination of live performance and live performance and music video put together that has thrived during the last year due to COVID. It seems really inspiring, and I'm excited to be able to present something on the lines of that.
And Veneno.
Oh yeah, Veneno is iconic. And if you're watching this and you haven't watched Veneno, it's on HBO. If you don't want to pay for it, torrent it. It's a really iconic show about a like famous trans woman in Spain, and kind of exploring her narrative and like her story, but through the like behind TV, and kind of like her community and her life and what trans women have to experience.
Yeah, it's beautifully done, and I've cried every single episode, like ugly crying. So definitely agree. I guess, how is this like futuristic aesthetic? How does it fit within the aesthetic of what Hotel Free TV has worked on and done so far? And how is this sort of like pushing you in a new aesthetic direction, or like expanding your like technological know-how?
Yeah, I mean, we are like the flyer that I made for this talk, that like was definitely me trying to figure out how we would like do something that was more polished. But I don't know, I'm really excited because Pink Star is bringing in like some other people to work on it, like cinematographers and stuff. So I'm kind of just excited to like be learning from them, because we're not like, it's like, yeah, I went to art school, but they don't really teach you how to do like video stuff. It's like, they're like, oh, here, you can use this camera, and like then there's like expectations or whatever. But definitely when I was doing it, I was trying to be a lot more like abstract. So yeah, this is definitely going to be like the most that we are learning and pivoting, which is really, I think is really exciting.
This will fully be a learning experience for us, I feel like, more than anything. So I think we're both excited about that.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I don't think this idea would have happened if I wasn't collaborating with Hotel Free TV, because it just kind of stemmed from like, what is like, okay, you need to present a live TV show or like a TV format performance. Like, how do you translate live performance to TV to make it interesting, to make it appealing to watch? Like, just kind of like going through that entire process of like, this is made for a TV or like a public access TV channel, live stream channel, like what would what makes sense within the realm of like Pink Star and pop to present as a TV show or TV special. So I think that's why I'm really grateful. I'm just like, I don't think this idea would have happened at all ever if like, y'all hadn't asked me to like come up with something or like collaborate or like put something together with y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how it organically snowballed.
Yeah, it rapidly just like turned into something like this monster project that's huge, which is
amazing.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's cool. It's pushing all of us. Like, that's definitely like the thing about collaboration is like, it's like these like art babies are born that like wouldn't have ever existed.
Yeah, and I think
emailed each other.
yeah, and I think for me it's also like very much in the same vein as y'all. Like I've never worked on something like this before, and so it's been a learning curve and a learning experience for me as well, and just like trying to figure out how to make things like this happen.
Yeah.
So it's been exciting.
It is.
I think, yeah, and just to add to that, I think something that I think is super cool about Pinky's work is that I think there's this conception that the only DIY is like punk or like punk music, but I think that the stuff that Pinky is doing, that a lot of queer pop artists are doing, is really like harnessing the technology and resources and creativity of like available to them and making these really like scrappy, high quality pop polished products.
Yeah.
And I think that's like incredibly not unsettling in like a bad way, but like it disrupts like this idea that you have to be a certain like white skinny woman, cis woman to be a pop star or to make that kind of work. So I think that is a super cool like merging of these two scenes.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to watch it.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mac. I think it's really interesting to see everything that's happening kind of like in the underground pop world and how like so many artists all over the world making these really polished, finished pop products that are created with like the microphone on your like iPhone and like access to like Ableton or like any like cheap digital audio workstation. So it's just it's cool, and it's I don't know, I feel like I've always had a connection to kind of like punk just because of that like kind of idea of like you can make it happen. Like you don't really need to know what you're doing to be able to create what you want to create, and also like disrupting kind of these preset standards of what pop like means or what pop can be. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just close out with these couple audience questions and then we'll tell everyone how to support this work. So one of them is about like how, I'm going to slightly reframe it. I wonder if, because you both were part of, Pinky and Matthew were both part of like art programs in an academic setting, and I'm wondering if you would have any advice or suggestions for people who are in sort of like this sort of more institutional space about like transitioning their work into like community-based work or collaborative DIY type work, other than just like getting rid of pretensions and getting involved in it?
I know that we both took, like, this is very specific to UT, but we both took classes with Mike Smith, and right.
Yeah.
And yeah, and he the readings that he gave were really like, there were some that were super outdated, like this one from the 50s or something about how life is performance, and I think a lot of that thinking, when I was reading it, I was like, oh cool, that's great for like other people, and I'm gonna write about that because I'm much more into the theory side than the practical side, I guess. But aside from like, you know, a global scale tragedy forcing you, I don't know. I would love to find some of those readings. Maybe we can put those up on the site or something. Because I'm struggling to remember the titles of any of them right now.
Yeah, I think for me, I found so much inspiration kind of outside of the classroom. So it was kind of hard to just keep my mind into like what I was being taught, because I was seeing, like, I grew up in a city that didn't have very much culture, art, or music, or any form of cultural production. And so once I moved to Austin, I found this like new world of like nightlife, of performance that kind of paralleled what I was learning, but in many times also gave me new ideas. And I mean, it's, I guess, just being receptive to what's happening in like the world around you, and also following the support. I think that's something that has been really important for me. Is like, if this, I don't disregard the fine arts world at all, and I still am very much like a fan of art. And so to me, it's just kind of like, where, like, who can help me make these ideas happen, and having no necessarily like framing attached to your work seems really nice, because I can present something in the music space as well as present it in the performance space, as well as present it in like the, I don't know, entertainment space, and being able to traverse that and having that sort of flexibility depending on like who's supporting the project or who's involved in the project and where the project would fit the best, I think it's nice. And I think I would encourage people to like not close themselves up to experiencing other like art worlds and other art scenes.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. It's very easy to be like a snob about it. And especially like when you're in the academic setting, I guess. I think like just going for it is the biggest thing. Like we said, like we were thinking about doing something like this project for months, and then, but like you just have to start doing it, and then you kind of figure out how it's gonna work. Like retroactively, you're like, yeah, we can do that. We know how to do that. And then you figure out how to do it.
And then I guess maybe let's pause on questions for a second just to talk about, I think I have a good closing question, so we'll close there. And it's not mine, it's from the chat. But so thank you for doing that for me, PD. But yeah, could we just go over the logistics of, so Girls Like Us will be premiering on January 28th on Project Free TV on the YouTube, and also like hosted, you can find it through the website or on the YouTube. How can people support Project Free TV?
Patreon is probably like the thing that we're like would help the most, because it helps us like start doing stuff that we know can be sustainable. Like, but if you can't do monthly donations, then just like donating on our website, there's a page that's like support, and there's a donate button, so you can donate through PayPal. We've been taking donations through Venmo. It's just at Hotel Free TV, and buying merch. Those are like the big ones.
Yeah.
And Pinky, how can folks be supporting your work?
Just stay tuned. Follow me on Instagram at @p1nkstar_. Yeah, I'm not currently taking donations per se, but I mean, the biggest support you can give me is always just supporting the projects that I'm working on. I'm kind of like a pretty project heavy person, so I'm usually working on one big project all the time.
Yeah, definitely like just watching and following and stuff is really great as well, and we're grateful to everyone.
Yeah.
Who does
and
that.
we will continue to fundraise for Girls Like Us through January, so
Yeah, anything that you donate to like the at Hotel Free TV or on
Is going to-
PayPal is going towards Girls Like Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have money and you're watching this on YouTube, send it to us. And yeah, I mean, we will continue to promote it, so just stay tuned. There'll be more opportunities to donate or to just support the work in general. But yeah, also just watch the show. That's the most important support
Yeah.
all the
True.
time.
Awesome. So just to close out, we've got a question from PV who's echoing the fact that we all miss live music so much and has been grateful for Hotel Free TV's performances.
Oh.
Any thoughts on the future of Hotel Free TV? Any pipe dreams? Are you going to need a nap after working on Girls Like Us?
I think we're like we just keep on adding things. It's like we're overwhelmed by work, and then we're like, oh no, well, we kind of like have got to a point where we're mostly caught up, so we could add another massive thing. So like as soon as Girls Like Us is done, we're gonna be working on like a showcase for South by, I think, unofficial South by, because
To be determined.
yeah, to be determined. But yeah, we're gonna keep growing and pivoting. Like we would love to keep this going once things return to like normal somewhat, but like expand it so that there's maybe like people won't be missing live music as much, but we can be talking to bands and showing music videos, and there'll be bands coming through, like definitely promoting people. Continuing to do that. Also, PB is our like biggest supporter by far, like emotionally.
Oh, Pierce?
Yeah, I think that's
Oh.
Pierce Barry.
Cool.
So that's really appropriate that that's
best.
the last question. I
He
think.
keeps us going.
Yes, show up and support your scenes. Cool. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on YouTube, and this will continue to live there. So weird to think about the fact that someone will be watching this later, but thanks for watching in the future. And
Thanks for watching in the future.
Yeah, and thank you so much to both of you for chatting about this project. It's
Oh.
going to be amazing. I'm excited.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you for moderating. You're the best.
Yeah, thanks, Mac.
Yeah.
Love y'all. Love y'all in the audience.
It's
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.